Well, I've got the car float primed. I had to use grey primer because the red oxide was all plugged up. Anyway, as I was out there this morning, it was kind of cold, and I realized too late that that was a bad idea. With the temperature change, I could hear the rails popping off the glue joints. One of them's okay, but the other track, the rails have just come detached. I don't recall which glue I used for that side. I know I used a variety of different glues because I was having trouble getting them to stick in the first place, and obviously the one I used at that end of the rear track wasn't strong enough, and with the temperature change all the glue joints broke. So it's kind of frustrating. I'm going to have to sit down and glue it back on again before I continue. So that's my latest progress report. I'll talk to you again later. Bye. As you can see, what I've done now is covered the float with a dark grey wash. If you look, you will see that it is very uneven, and that was intentional. In fact, when it dried the first time, it dried a lot more even than I wanted it to, so I went back and I hit some areas again with a slightly different mix. Anyway, once it's all rusted up with washes of various rust colours, I think it will look quite good. That will be my next step. Well, I have the first coat of weathering on. Let's take a look at it. This is what it looks like so far. That is with my first weathering coat. I'm using this rust coloured wash, and basically my technique is to start off with a big brush and coat the entire thing with a liberal layer of water. Just get the thing soaking wet, and then apply the wash with a smaller brush, and it starts to look pretty reasonable. I need a few more steps yet. The one thing that doesn't go very well with this is where you get too much of the wash pooling around details. As it dries, the water wicks the pigment away, and you end up with a clean spot where it should have been really dirty. But I can go back and touch up those areas. So my next step is to use the Micromark Rust Oil pigments, and I think that will start to take shape after that. So let's go away and get that done, and I will report back later. Okay, what I'm doing now is taking the Micromark Rust Oil and I'm puddling it around all the details, just to make sure that I don't leave any bits uncovered. And then I get the big brush and I cover everything. I'd already started before I turned the camera on. That's why you see that some areas already look a lot rustier than others. Okay, that's the deck just about covered. Go on the sides. I'm not worried about the rubbing streaks for the time being. Once I've finished rusting all the metal parts, I will pick that out. I'll paint those carefully with a small brush. For the time being, the easiest thing to do is just go straight over them. And I've just destroyed one of the bollards. Oh dear. They will have to super glue it on again later. Right, now I just got to let that dry. Don't know why I'm getting a Getting white showing through there. Well, it's only been a couple of minutes since I put the rust wash on, and it's almost dry already. I guess that's because instead of having water in it, it's thinned with isopropyl alcohol, so that evaporates quickly. Anyway, I glued the broken bollard back together, and I've noticed some staining alongside the rear track, and I'm thinking that's probably from where I had to re-glue the rail after the primer was on. So maybe I've got areas there that don't have any primer on, so what I'm going to have to do is touch that up before I go any further, otherwise it's always going to annoy me. So let me fix that, touch up those areas, and I'll be right back. Well, I've got a few more rust coloured washes on, various different colours. I think I'm almost ready to call the metal work done. I need a few shiny spots on some of the bollards where the ropes would rub them. Where I had the problem, I stippled it with dark grey and then started again. I also tried to use some weathering powder there, and it didn't come out quite the way I wanted it to. I'm going to argue that it is the result of a corrosive chemical spill some time ago, causing it to rust differently from the rest of the barge. I think now it's time to start picking out the rubbing strakes and other details. So let me get on with that, and I'll report back later. Well, a couple of days have passed since I last recorded anything. I've done some more weathering. I've also painted the rubbing strakes, got those weathered. I've picked out the grab rails in yellow, cleaned the rail tops, and I think I'm going to call that done. All I have to do now is rebuild the float apron. Thanks for watching.